Hi there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Anita here, and if you have been following me, you know that I am on a mission to undo the culture of silence that has plagued us in areas such as mental health, sexual abuse. I seek to raise awareness, educate us, and I do this by sharing my own personal story when and where I can, and when the need calls for it, and as well as that of others, as long as I get the permission to share from them when I hear the story. Basically, my goal is to get us comfortable enough to have discussions around these things and be willing to do something about it. Yes, there is something that you can do. And sometimes it's just as simple as, sharing something on social media to increase the awareness or educate someone who just, talks without thinking of being empathetic to others. Before we go into what I have to discuss for today, I just want to say thank you to everyone for the show of love and support in my last video, or my fast, so to speak, on this subject. And everyone who is connected with me online on social media and off social media, I just want to say thank you. Sometimes, the fear a person has in coming out to share certain experiences is just wondering how people would perceive you, and people who know you and just have always thought one thing about you, what they're going to think after, they hear pieces of your story. It's not all of it yet, but pieces of it. But the show of love and support has actually really been overwhelming and amazing, and I just want to say thank you. We're just going to jump right into today. Today, I'm going to be debunking myths on sexual abuse. What are some of the things that you have believed about people who have experienced sexual abuse before? And I'd just like to know, just leave me a comment in the comment box section, what you have always believed about people who have been sexually abused. And after this video, what you learned and what turns out to be different from what you've always believed. I would really love to know that, guys. So please share with me. And I'm going to be infusing some of my personal experiences in certain areas as I go. Maybe not all of it, but where necessary, I'm just going to infuse some of my personal stories or a story that someone has shared with me that I have permission to share. And of course, no names. Okay, so I'm just going to start with myth number one. If you're abused, you probably did something to cause it. To this I ask, how does a baby cause sexual arousal in a person? Or how do you explain someone laying in their beds at night or at whatever time of the day for that matter, someone creeps in and defiles them, or gets into their homes and defile them, or that uncle who lives with them creeps into their bed while everybody else is asleep and defiles them? Like, I don't get it. All right. No, to say that people who were raped did something to cause it is to want to shame them, and that is wrong. We can talk about preventive measures that can include anything from the very popular excuse people like to give, which is dressing indecently. We can talk about preventive measures from anything of that sort to, not walking alone at night or just being mindful of the kind of friends you keep. But when we're talking about preventive measures, let's keep them as preventive measures that people can put in place. And even that doesn't change anything. All right. So someone else lacks self-control, put the blame on them. Someone has a sick mind, put the blame on them. Someone got drunk and did what they were not supposed to do, put the blame on them. Someone, and sometimes it's that somebody was probably abused and they just met out what they have received as well. All right. Whatever the case is, please, nobody deserves to be sexually violated in whatever form. They did absolutely nothing to cause it. All right. So that's wrong. It's not right. Okay, myth number two. Only girls and women are victims of sexual abuse. No. According to a UN report on sexual abuse in Nigeria, 1 in 10 boys will experience or have experienced sexual abuse. And the ratio for girls is 1 in 4. All right. So clearly, it's more rampant with girls than it is with boys. Girls are more likely to get raped or sexually violated in one form or the other than boys are likely to be. But it doesn't change the fact that boys get sexually abused. And lately I have watched a number of men come out and start to talk about their abuse experiences, and it is so amazing to see. I mean, not that they went through an abuse, but that they're willing to talk about it. Special shout out to Pastor Michael Todd. Thank you for sharing. And also Pastor Mike Ross. Just hearing their stories just gave me hope. All right. And I just really hope that someone, um, catches in on that hope and just hangs in there and believe that you too can find wholeness and healing. All right. And, um, actually on this, something funny happened to me. So couple years back, couple months back, I had this home daycare where I put my daughter, my kids, both of my kids. I have two kids, a boy and a girl. And I showed up there one day and the owner of the place wasn't there. She had a friend or a sister or something, someone around. And then, but like, I mean, that in itself weirded me out. But what was even more awkward was the fact that there was a man lying down with kids around him and a pizza box somewhere around the corner. And I think maybe he had a beer. I don't know. It was just a very situation to watch. All right. And I kind of panicked. I wasn't sure what to do. And I freaked out and said, there is no way in hell I am leaving my daughter here. And so I called up my husband, I called up work, and I said I can't be at work because I don't have childcare. And I took my daughter to a friend's, like a senior auntie, and I got there and she was like, okay, great. Sure, the kids can stay with me. That's fine, and you can go on to work. And she said, where's your son? I'm like, I left him there. And she was like, wow. So whatever you think can happen to your daughter can't happen to your son, and it just dawned on me that that's how much we're so wired to think that only girls get sexually violated. No, boys get abused too. So please protect your girls, protect your boys, all right? Protect everyone. Okay, and pay attention to the people that are around you, all right? And men get raped even as grown men, they get raped too. Okay, so it can happen to anybody at any age, at any time, by anybody. Women abuse girls, women abuse girls abuse girls, men abuse girls. It can be in any form. Just protect everybody. Okay, all right. So myth number 3: if it happened to you as a child, you won't remember. Wrong. So I tried to do a little research on this. I couldn't just understand all of the sciences behind it, but overall, one thing I realized is that when a child's brain, while a child's brain might protect them by selectively burying the experience in their subconscious mind, it only does that to protect them temporarily. All right, and eventually, all it takes is a trigger to bring that experience back to their conscious minds. All right, and also just digging more, research shows a huge connection between child sexual abuse and depression, mental illness, and obesity later on in life. I wonder why I find it hard to lose all these extra pounds. Anyway, yes, I will blame it on that. I have earned it. But yeah, so that's what research shows. And it also says that in the adult life of an abused child, they're less likely to have optimal social and psychological well being in their adult life. And the brain actually really never forgets. All right. So at some point, it will resurface. For me, I was very conscious of my very first experience with abuse. I was 7, and of course, at 7, I'm very much aware of my environment and things that are happening around me. So, yes, I do remember, but I have spoken to people who it happened to them when they were maybe 2 or 3, and they start to get these flashbacks, which, by the way, is a whole conversation for another time. And something triggers it. They remember. If they're lucky to have somebody who may have been aware at the time, that person can help them confirm what they're feeling or what they're seeing at the back of in their minds. So, if it happened to you as a child, if it happened to someone as a child, they will definitely remember. Again, all the more reason why we need to protect children, especially children who can come up and tell us what happened. And if you're just wondering on, some of the signs to help you tell if your child has been abused before, check out my blog. I wrote on that. I wrote on child sexual abuse, and I wrote on how to identify the signs and also the effects and how you can get help. All right. So check that out. So myth number 4, sexual abuse happens to children in lower socioeconomic classes or rural areas. This is simply not true. Sexual abuse can happen again to anyone at any place at any time. All right. And it happens in rural areas as much as urban areas. I grew up all my life in urban areas, and every experience I had with my abusers were in large cities. They were educated people. Highly educated people, as a matter of fact, thinking about it. One of them was actually my lesson teacher. Can you believe that? Right? So, um, it can happen anywhere. All right? It happens in poverty stricken areas as much as amongst the high and mighty. All right? The only difference sometimes that you find is that in poverty stricken areas, it's just a lot less exposed than it is in urban areas. And of course, it's harder to speak up for your rights in rural areas, or areas where there's huge poverty, than it is amongst people who have a sense of what their rights are and are educated in certain things. Okay. All right, so moving on to myth number 5. Sexual abuse is usually carried out by strangers. So research has shown us that 90%, yes, a whopping 90% of sexually abused children knew the perpetrators. I knew every of my abusers. I knew all of them. All of them. All of them. I knew them. If you're watching, I see you. And I'm coming for you. It's just a matter of time. All right, so yeah, threats aside, I knew them. All right, 2 of them were family members. And yeah, not a fun one. So, well, and that also fits well into another research that says that 68% of them are usually family members. All right. Um, I know this can make one almost paranoid. All right. I personally, for the longest time, was paranoid. I feel like sometimes I'm still paranoid. Um, and it's hard sometimes. Okay. If it seems to people like it's hard for me to let my children go places sometimes, this is probably why. All right. I apply caution. I watch, observe people, and um, it can be hard. Bottom line, I just try not to be paranoid, okay? And I honestly just ask God to help me and expose anything. And I pray over my kids. I pray for people who, if I send them off somewhere, I pray for people who they're spending time with, and I know that it can happen not just when the kids leave your house, but it can also happen right in the house, all right? Um, a number of the abuses that I had happened right in my home, all right? So, um, it can happen at any point, but it's not always by strangers. As a matter of fact, especially with children, it is someone that they trust and would not expect to harm them, is often how they get lured into being abused, especially when there was no force applied. It's usually by strangers who told them something, did something, and lured them into abusing them. But overall, sexual abuse can be carried out by people who um, are close to you, which is a sad reality. But a key tip for parents as a way of, keeping each other accountable in the home, and I say this because parents have sometimes been the abusers, all right? As a key tip for parents is that help keep each other accountable. Let the kids know if mommy touches you, let daddy know. If daddy touches you, let mommy know. When they keep hearing that and you keep telling each other that, you know that these kids have what it takes to tell on you. And that can create some, you know, deterrence between parents. And just stay close to your kids and let them be comfortable to come to you if anything happens. All right? Don't let them feel safer with someone else than you as the parent. Okay. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Sexual abuse can also be carried out by people in authority when there is a lack of balance of power. It happens. And so this is where people like pastors, bosses kind of fit in. Yeah, so again, people you know. That's the bottom line. Not only strangers. Oftentimes, strangers probably even rape anyway, and rape is, yes, somewhat different. It's a forceful act. It's more forceful than molestation or, you know, just it's more forceful. Okay, myth number 6. People who don't say anything at the time must be lying when they make accusations later. You know, last year I had a period when I broke out into anxiety. It was just a very short period of time, a very short period of time. And the trigger for me was hearing a case of someone, a high profile case in Nigeria, who had come out to say a man of God had abused her, raped her. And I don't know why I did that to myself. Knowing where things stood with me, I probably was better off not even trying to learn more about the story, but I did. And it triggered something in me. And I started to struggle and I started having flashbacks again. If you have seen the video on my mental health chronicles, then you know what I'm talking about. And it was just heartbreaking to hear people's comments and people say things like, oh, well, if he did that to you, why are you coming out now? Again, remember what I said about when there is an imbalance of power, it can be regarded as rape. And just hearing people say all of that was really heartbreaking and just went a long way to show how uneducated we are around this topic. Because the truth is, nobody who's been raped in their right minds would want to just say something right away. You're still processing. And that process can take anywhere from days to months to years for so many people. And to throw that out without even asking to do some investigation and just fire back at this lady and talk about how she must be lying, it was so long ago, it was just really heartbreaking. And I mean, look at me. It took me what, over 30 years, well, not up to, definitely over 25 years to come out and, share with the world. All right, it took me years to share with my family what was going on. And it took me a while of being in a relationship with my husband to open up to him and say, this is going on. All right, so no, it can happen years ago. And I bet you that there are still lots of people in their 40s, 50s who've been abused and haven't said a thing to anyone. Not because they don't want to, but they're still processing, and or they just don't feel ready, or they just, buried it deep down in the subconscious. And their way of coping is to not think about it or let it out. So please show kindness. Someone comes out, even if you think they're lying, at the very least, give them the benefit of doubt and conduct an investigation. Let's just say it was a really heartbreaking moment to watch that happen. But whatever the case is, everyone gets to the breaking point of speak up or break up. All right. And there are lots of people who have lost their lives to the latter, which is break up. And they've committed suicide, they've OD'd because they're trying to numb the pain. And not everybody gets to speak up. And I'm just glad to have the opportunity to speak up, not just for myself, but for everybody else. I just really hope that you can find your voice and speak up, because silence indeed is the weapon of the enemy. But when you start to talk about it and open up to someone at least that you can trust or share, it starts to lose its grip on you. Okay. So I will move on to myth number 7, which is the last one. If you were sexually abused, you will remain broken and the victim for the rest of your life. And I say this one with a big smile on my face because it is so not true. It's been true for some people, especially when you don't speak up. and you don't let yourself, you know, heal. It can be, but if you heal, it won't be. And when I thought about this one and I was prepping for this, I literally broke into the song. Hill song. Broken Vessels is the song. Um, and honestly, it is a beautiful song that just ties this together. Um, the truth is, all of your broken pieces, God takes them and He puts them into a masterpiece. All right, no, you will not remain broken forever. I just want to tell someone today, you will not be broken forever. Okay, you will learn to love again. You will learn to live again. You will become stronger and better for it. It will take time. It might take time. All right, and you need to give yourself that time to heal, to get better. Get therapy if you need to. Build a good support system. If there's someone you trust that you can open up to, if you've never shared your experience with anyone and you've been carrying the burden alone, trust me, it helps to unburden and share with someone. Okay, but you will not remain broken for forever. That is a lie from the pit of hell. You will be better than ever. At some point, you'll be. Okay, but you need to allow yourself heal. Okay, and you definitely will rise above this. You are a masterpiece. Okay, you are not a victim, you are an overcomer. Lots of people have overcome these experiences, okay? And including, yes, this beautiful face speaking to you right now. And here's one thing, if we all did, I know you will too. You definitely will, okay? So basically, that's it, guys. 7 myths. What have you believed about sexual abuse? And what have you learned about what is not true today, or what is not entirely true today, okay? Some myths have seem to have some truth to it, but it's not the complete truth or complete facts, and some are just completely not true at all. Okay, but let me know what what you've taken out of this today. All right, and just want to say as I wrap up, the more we talk about this, the less awkward it actually becomes. And when we identify the issues that we have, only then can we truly deal with it. So I really hope that this has been helpful for you. And if it has, please share it, please subscribe, hit the notification button, and so you know every time there's a new video. And together, I ask that we undo the culture of silence. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.